What are you doing?
I know. Isn't Brian the absolute best? Brian is the best.
I don't know what we would do without him.
What would we do without Brian?
I have no idea. He's amazing.
Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's take our seats so we can get our meeting going.
Being able to control y'all's mics.
Okay.
Still working. But if somebody steps up to the podium and you don't see the red light, for some reason somebody's bumped it, turned it off. I'm trying to keep my eyes on.
Okay, I will as well.
You can turn it on and off if it's right. Shut the system off.
Okay.
We'll make it work manually.
All right, folks, let's take our seat. Take your conversation outside or sit down. Thank you, but I had a teacher that kind of got things quiet that way. So I like the interaction. I like the fact that we're where we can have conversation about things that are important, but we also need to stick to a schedule. And we're now into our regular session. Work session from 8:30 until a couple of minutes ago, and now we're a couple of minutes past 10. Wayne, if you would lead us into our meeting, please.
And the first thing we'll do is the Invocation and Pledge.
All right. Scott, please, sir. Please stand if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
The light's not on, Mr. Chairman. I just didn't know.
All right. Where is
Brian?
Brian? Probably are. All right, the good Lord's watching, so let's do this. The good Lord's watching, so Scott, if you would lead us in the invocation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, Mr. Dias. I would like to say, because this is the week that we're remembering 9/11, thank you to all the law enforcement and to everyone that serves to protect. Father God, we thank you and we come to you and not on our own account, but in the account of Jesus Christ and what you've done on the cross. Thank you for this commission, of what they do to serve this county. I ask, Lord, you would give them guidance, give them wisdom, and protect them as well. In Jesus' name I ask. Amen.
Amen. Jeff, if you would, lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, we have a series of meeting minutes to adopt. The first one is the August 6th, 2021 special meeting minutes for the budget deliberations.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting budget deliberation of August 6, 2021.
All right. Can we include the other?
Yes, sir. If
Do them all in one?
Sure, we can include.
Restate my motion, please, sir.
All right, if you would, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from October 6, 2021 special budget, October 12th special budget deliberation, August the 17th for regular meeting, then the August the 20th special meeting budget deliberation, and August the 27th Baldwin County emergency special meeting for Hurricane Ida.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. We have the minutes approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is under administration. We have 7 items from the discussion from the work session. BA3, that local state of emergency will begin today at noon, as we discussed in the work session. So with that, Mr. Chairman, staff recommends approval of BA1 through BA7 with that one notation regarding the state of emergency.
So moved.
We've got a motion to approve the items under administration BA. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the administrative items. Hearing any discussion or comment? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, next is archives and history. We have one item. This is BC1. Staff recommends approval of BC1.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion. How about a second? Got a motion and a second to approve BC1. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's approved. Archives and history. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is budget and purchasing. We have 8 items, BE1 through BE8. Staff recommends approval of those 8 items.
Chair, make a motion we approve items BE1 through BE8.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion and a second for the budget and purchasing items BE1 through BE8. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. They are approved.
Mr. Chairman, next is emergency management. We have one item, BK1. Staff recommends approval of BK1.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second to approve item BK1. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is environmental management. We have 3 items, BL1 through BL3. Staff recommends approval of those 3 items.
Chair, make a motion we approve items BL1 through BL3.
Second.
Right. We've got a motion and a second to approve the items BL1 through BL3. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is highway. We have 6 items, BN1 through BN6. Staff recommends approval of those 6 items.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second to approve the items under highway BN1 through BN6. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is personnel. We have 14 items, BQ1 through BQ14. Staff recommends approval of those 14 items.
Chair, make a motion we approve items number BQ1 through BQ14.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the items under personnel BQ1 through BQ14. Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next we have planning and zoning. We have 3 items, BR1 and BR2 and BR3, and BR4, I'm sorry, 4 items. Staff recommends approval of those 4 items.
Chair, make a motion we approve items number BR1 through BR4.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve BR1 through BR4. Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, while we're on planning and zoning, I do have a speaking request. This is from Regina Wharton for District 34. Does she want to speak to these items? Okay, you can come forward, please. Yes. At the podium, yes.
Right up here, if you would, ma'am, please.
What district?
It says District 34, but Regina, did you mean 35?
I think 34, is that correct, ma'am?
So early on, it was discussed as 34, but it's being proposed as a new 35.
Right.
Oh, okay.
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 So go ahead, Regina.
Yeah, our neighborhood, a large portion of our neighborhood would like, well, in fact, all of them, I think, when they hear the facts, would like to have Section 34, a new district formed within 34. We have a lot of people moving in there and building trailer parks and just bringing down our land values. They're bringing down the safety of the area. Septic tanks aren't being put in properly. Mobile homes are being moved in without permits. And there seems to be no jurisdiction over this to protect us. We have neighbors with all kinds of stories that are going on right now. I live down Keller Road. This portion I'm talking about goes from County Road 12 North down to 10, which Keller Road is in between, and we just want that section protected for our land values and safety, and everybody follow the rules, I mean, for the health of and well-being of our neighbors. Also, we are very concerned. We live on the Bon Secure River, and we're very concerned about the flooding that's been happening. And a lot of that is because of so much wash-off going into the river. And some of this is from building being done incorrectly. Right beside me, these people are going to put 6 mobiles there. There's 2 there now on 1 acre. And they brought in a lot of fill dirt, about that much, and filled the top. Since Sally, and with every rain, that fill dirt, that red clay is washing down in the streets, straight down to the Bon Secure River and over to Turf Creek, which is a tributary to the Bon Secure. And as we know, the flooding's getting worse with every heavy rain, really. And then I hear that just down from us between Keller Road and 12, there's been 40 acres sold, and I don't know that this is totally to the record, but I hear that there's 190 units going to go in there, which is at the headwaters of the Bon Secure. So if there's not something in place about proper drainage and just whatever goes along with protecting a river, I'm really afraid of what's going to happen to the Bon Secure, which is a very important river to Baldwin County and to Alabama. So we're just asking that we be zoned and the zoning rules be enforced on everyone, just so we can have a better neighborhood and a safe neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we already voted on those, so that did get approved, BR1 to BR4. So we'll next go into our presentations, Mr. Chairman. We handled CA1 and CA2 during the work session. So next is the proclamation for Baldwin County Fair Week, September 21st to 25th, 2021. Mr. Chairman, I'll read the proclamation.
Yes, please.
Proclaiming September 21st to 25th, 2021 as Baldwin County Fair Week in Baldwin County, Alabama. Whereas September 21st to 25th, 2021 remains an important time in Baldwin County, a time set aside for the public to enjoy the Baldwin County Fair. And whereas a county fair in any part of America invokes memories of youthful joy whereby carnival rides, agricultural displays, and games were to be enjoyed by all. And whereas established in 1948, the Baldwin County Fair is the longest running county fair in the state. And whereas the fair focuses on activities for men, women, and children, educating attendees about agriculture, featuring animal exhibits, demonstrations, entertainment acts, music acts, carnival rides, and other general amusements. And whereas in Baldwin County, the Baldwin County Fair will commence on Tuesday, September 21st, 2021, and conclude on Saturday, September 25th, 2021, at the Baldwin County Fairgrounds, the location of the Baldwin County Coliseum at 19477 Fairground Road in Robertsdale, Alabama. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Baldwin County Commission and regular session assembled that we hereby set aside September 21st to 25th, 2021 as Baldwin County Fair Week in Baldwin County, Alabama, and encourage all to attend and enjoy the county fair, done in the seal of the Baldwin County Commission at the county seat in Bay Minette on the 7th day of September 2021.
One comment, our picture.
Thank you very much, Commission. You know, the county fair has become, after 70 years, has become a fixture. Probably myself and maybe one of the commissioners is old enough to remember when it started. All the rest of y'all weren't around when it started. And I'm not going to call any names, but it's not a female, I can tell you that. But I want to thank the commission. We always look forward to having the county fair. You know, we've never not been able to have a fair due to hurricanes or any kind of disasters, but you can rest assured COVID took us out. And the reason for that is it wasn't the county fair, Baldwin County Cattle and Fair's decision not to do it, but our midway that comes every year, we've had the same one for 30 years, and by the way, they're number 2 in the state. We're fortunate to have them, but in order for them to come last year, they had to be put up for a week before they could go and visit, then have the county fair, and then when they went back to Florida, they had to be quarantined for another week, and they couldn't afford that. And that's the reason we didn't have the county fair, because the midway or the carnival is the engine that drives county fairs. It's the gasoline that keeps it going, that where we can have calf shows and cooking and sewing and canning and all of the other attributes of the county fair. We're looking forward to all of you coming and seeing us at the county fair. Thank you very much. Next week, the fair catalog will be coming out. It was postponed for a week because the printers had some problems with help because of the COVID problem, but it's a week late, but it'll be coming out, and we're real proud of it. I thought the last one we had before this one was the best, but I believe the folks that put this together really did a wonderful job. Go by and look. We have a pioneer family that you all, a little history about them that you all will enjoy reading about, I think.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, can we, you want to get a whole picture of everybody?
Yeah, don't come.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question. It doesn't pertain to the fair. But just as a citizen, I'd like to ask the commission, have you all requested from the legislature, our legislative delegation, to in some of their special sessions when they talk about redistricting, have you all asked them to redistrict the districts in Baldwin County as a result of the last census we've had this year? You know, we got 4 districts, as you all know, in Baldwin County. As a county commissioner, you must live in that district, but you vote countywide.
Right.
And those districts, by law, are required to have within 5% of the population break. And it's really out of bounds now because it's been 25 years since that's happened. And it would give everybody...
To my knowledge, I asked that exact same question a while back, and since we are countywide incumbents and we run by a district that we live in, they're not redrawn the county district lines. It's for the state level.
Go ahead.
I mean, that's just, they're redrawn the legislative lines.
Well, if I lived in a district that had 5,000 population in it and didn't live in one at Gulf Shore that had 50,000 population, I'd agree with that, running countywide. But that just happened not to be the law. And I'm assuming we're going to try to uphold the law. Down in Mr. Gruber's district, he's probably got, what you got, 50,000 plus?
67,000 right
57,000. District 1 in yours, you got what, 10,000, 15,000?
Yeah, a little bit more than that, but it's not much. I got the most land.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's the law.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman.
Joe? Yes.
There was a meeting recently where I heard Representative McMillan speak on this very topic, and he stated that due to a couple things, we as a body, because we don't have the home rule and we are not we don't run by districts, that it is the local legislative delegation's duty to look at that. And he mentioned that it needed to be looked at, and there is a redistricting meeting. They're being held throughout the state of Alabama at the community colleges. There's one on September the 16th in Fairhope. Right. Now, it is primarily for the legislature, but I fully intended to ask about that to see, because there was an ACCA meeting down in Gulf Shores, and I didn't glean a whole lot from that little segment, and I was hoping to get some more information from that. And what it basically kind of led me to think was that, well, because we run by districts, we don't have any control over it, which we don't. And so whenever McMillan mentioned it, I said, okay, the light bulb's coming on a little bit better. So I think that is something that I do want to find out on this, if not before that, the September 16th meeting, to make sure that we are abiding by, that the county is in compliance, I guess. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I just think we need to bring the county commission into the 21st century.
Well, Sonny, I agree with you. Now, I'll be honest. I like the fact that I got elected countywide. Somebody in Fairhope and Fort Morgan is just as much a concern of mine as my next door neighbor. But I personally would like for us to go to 5. You can't organizationally justify 4.
Yeah.
I know and understand and read about how it happened, but that doesn't make it right. And to me, if we're going to redraw things, we need to make it 5. I still like us all being elected, but that way you've got 5 voices instead of 4. And this 4 has worked together well, but that hadn't always happened. And I'd like to see us put on the table going to 5 districts. And
I'm not addressing that. I mean, the only reason I ask is because what the law is now.
Sure.
And of course, the law is now 4, and those districts must have within a certain percent of the county voting population.
That's right.
And voting countywide is excellent because you spend money countywide.
That's right.
And that makes a difference. However, it does not preclude the law where it says you must have those districts within the same one. And geographically, District 1 will probably be twice or 3 times as large as District 4. But you don't vote geographically, you vote in districts, and that's what works. Right. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you all looking into that. And thank you so much. I'll relate this to the Cattle and Fair Board,
Please,
and they appreciate it, and I'm here representing them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonny.
And one more comment.
All right, yes. Good job.
Talking about geographically, I've heard some comments that the way it's set up now, it's kind of the top, middle, side, but there's some counties that kind of do it like straight vertically, where everybody gets a little bit of the north, you know what I mean? But then we're so skewed to the left with, that sounded horrible. I don't think that's in Baldwin County yet, but the L, which is the east. Guys, quit laughing at me. The eastern shore and the southern part. So I think it's really, really hard to try to figure out a way to make it really work land-wise. But if the law says we need to look at that, then I guess we do need to look at it. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
The good part about Baldwin County is if you live in Gulf Shores or where Mr. Ballin lives, when he leaves home and he goes out north end of the county, he's almost halfway to the state capital.
That's right. That's right.
We We are large geographically.
And 22% of the geographic area of this county is located north of I-65.
There you go.
Think about that. Go look at the map and see what I'm talking about. Not a lot of people, great folks, but a lot of area up there. Well, this is the sort of thing that will, going forward, need to get better as we get bigger. Thanks, Sonny.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, can we get a motion and a second on the proclamation?
Make a motion.
We got a motion, do I hear a second? Got a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next are public hearings. We have one public hearing. This is for case number S20069, Hookboon RV Park appeal from the Baldwin County Zoning Administrator, denial of final site plan application. So, Mr. Chairman, we need to open the public hearing and closing at the end. We do have one speaker signed up, and I believe, Matthew, you're going to address this first. Okay.
All right, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, this is the second appeal in the past 6 months we've had from a determination under our subdivision regulations. Generally, these come from decisions of the Planning Commission. This is a unique case. It's actually an appeal from a decision I made as the Planning and Zoning Administrator. And I'm going to have to go through the background of the case to understand, for everybody to understand why we ended up in this situation. So, as a reminder, you will hear appeals de novo, which means from scratch, as if you are the Planning Commission, and I will go through these items on the screen here. So this is regarding case S-20069, Hookboon RV Park, final site plan approval. The applicant is requesting final site plan approval of a 46-space recreational vehicle park with an accompanying variance from the required 30-foot setback requirements of the Baldwin County subdivision regulations. The subject property is located on the west side of State Highway 59, north of Couch Plant Road in the Summerdale area. The subject property is located within Baldwin County Planning District 18. This is an area where the citizens have not voted to come under the zoning jurisdiction of Baldwin County. This is right in the near Summerdale. This case is, the site's approximately 4.77 total acres, 46 proposed RV spaces. The smallest site or space would be around 2,500 square feet. Water's from the town of Summerdale, sewer, Baldwin County Sewer Service, electricity, Riviera Utilities. So what's interesting about this case, it actually goes all the way back to November of last year. This case came before our Planning Commission on November 5th, 2020. And staff recommended approval as complying with all the subdivision regulations. But I want to draw your attention to the site plan. There's a red dashed line. That's the 30-foot required setback in our subdivision regulations for RV parks. And I'm going to read that to you now. RV parks and campgrounds sites/units shall be located a minimum of 30 feet from the exterior property line or a wetland. So that's straight from our subdivision regulations. And it's hard to see on the screen, but if you have your agenda packet in front of you, you see that this red line intersects all the sites. So the sites are essentially cut in half by this red line. The sites are not within the required 30-foot setback. At this time, the plan was just a proposed 41 space site. Unfortunately, staff made a mistake here, so I want to concede that we as Planning and Zoning made a mistake. We recommended approval to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission approved it based on our approval. So you might say, well, how's it back in front of us now today? It turns out it was in Summerdale's ETJ. And Summerdale took it up to their Planning Commission as well. You may recall that it's kind of hit or miss on what towns regulate RV parks and which do not through their subdivision process. Some do, some don't. Town of Summerdale took it up, and they ended up approving it, but they granted a variance for the setback. And this resulted in some pretty substantial changes to the plat that was approved by the county, or the site plan that was approved by the county. They also added more RV spaces in the site. I think they removed a building from the plan and added some additional spaces. Well, when a site goes through a municipal planning jurisdiction or planning commission, and there are substantial changes, it has to come back to us for administrative approval at that point. So I did reach out to the town of Summerdale and just confirmed with them that they had approved it, that they didn't have any issues. I wanted to make sure they didn't approve it just based on our prior approval. And you can see this from the town of Summerdale. They said, yes, we understood, we approved it with the variances, we were good with it. And I asked her, Chastity Davis, to send this follow-up email just confirming that. So then it came back in front of us and it still had that setback. And now it got looked at again. We realized this error. And based on the fact that there's a blatant violation to our setback requirements and our subdivision regulations, we said the only way you can get this approved is you need a variance to our subdivision regulations. And unfortunately, there's no hardship in this case for these sites. So we had to recommend denial of the variance. And so that's what we did to our planning commission. We did explain the breadth of the issue, the fact that it had been approved within a variance by the town of Summerdale. But the planning commission ultimately denied the variance request at the August planning commission meeting, which meant 2 days later, I administratively denied the site plan approval, and Mr. Hookbone, who's here today and is the applicant, then appealed that to y'all. So our recommendation does remain the same. We do recommend denial, but we do highlight that this is a very nuanced case. The Planning and Zoning Department, we did make a mistake back in 2020 when we reviewed this. We clearly told him he had to have the setback on there and he displayed it, but we failed to confirm that he had pulled everything back within the setback. So we do believe this is the applicant's responsibility and the engineer's responsibility ultimately, but I don't want to pretend that we didn't make a mistake in this situation. And so that's really my presentation. It hasn't been a controversial case in terms of the public. We haven't had any member of the public come in any of our hearings. Well, I shouldn't say that. Any of the hearings that I've been at since I've been here regarding this project. So I just kind of wanted to give you that background. And that's all I have for my presentation.
Mr. Chairman, if we could open the public hearing, we do have a person signed up to speak.
All right, we're opening the public hearing on this case. And this is case S-20069, Hookbone RV Park Appeal.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we have one person signed up to speak. That is Mr. John Hudson. Mr. Hudson?
Yes, sir, Mr. Hudson. Please speak into the mic if you would, please.
I'm Ricky Hudson, the owner, and my wife Tammy were both the owners of the property. And Matthew did a good job of explaining it. Actually, you can step back further. August 7th of 2020, went to Baldwin County Planning and Zoning, sat down with Mary Booth, showed her what our proposed plan was. It showed 5-foot setbacks for, and one thing that's misleading is it's a setback for a site. And, this isn't a permanent structure. Now, Matthew has since corrected me in that some RVs are, because there's a chance in the future that it may not move, it may stay there and become whatever, that I guess that's considered somewhat of a permanent structure. But the reference here, there are no permanent structures inside that 30-foot setback. And that was my understanding from day one. But day one, going in there and asking Mary Booth, say, hey, this is before me and my wife spend a dime of our money. This is what we're thinking about doing. What do you think? So August 12th, we had another meeting with my engineer talking about it. There was no issues, proceed on. August, we get into, Sally hit, so we don't get to October meeting, but we go to November meeting. So in November meeting, as Matthew well explained, they say, hey, there's no issues with it, and vote to have it, approved, and it was approved. Well, at that point, we're good. We have it talks about denial here, but at that point we had an approved project. It was rock at the time instead of pavement, as it eventually turned to. At that time, we were told we've got to go to Summerdale and do the ETJ there because they're due to the ETJ. We've got to go there and meet their requirements. In our meetings there, we had to go for variances on certain issues. One wound up being the setback. The other issue was paving that they held us to, that we were going to have to do paving. So at that point, the design changed because the original design had a gravel road going out to Couch Plant. So at that point, that's the reason for the change, is because of the cost of asphalt and us just trying to meet their requirement. It did increase 5 sites. At the same time, the bottom row over there, it took about 10 sites, which would be, since we increased it about 5 less sites inside that 30-foot. But back to the 30-foot setback, in the original drawing, it showed RVs parked inside that 30-foot section. There was never any discussion about it in our meetings with them, nothing, until June 3rd, when we took it back in for administrative review. At that point, Planning and Zoning sent us an email basically stating at that point we had to meet this 30-foot setback. And that was 300 days after our initial review and going in August. So at that point, I told them we can't. It's not an economically feasible project taking approximately a third of the sites out. So at that point, Matthew said, we'd have to go for a variance, so we applied for that, and that was in August of last month. So we're a year and a month into this. Literally, November of last year, we had an approved project. We would have built it if we had not had to go to the ETJ issue. And so my hope here is that you guys will honor the initial approval. I mean, we did our due diligence to make sure that it was proper, we could do it, we were told we could, and it was approved as a project. And we're just hoping that you guys will see that. And I understand, cases in the future, they are what they are, but in this case, it's unusual, and we have had prior approval, and we're hoping that you guys will see that and will actually give us the variance for the 30-foot. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we don't have anybody else to speak other than Mr. Hudson.
All right, we'll close the case S20069, dealing with the Hookbone RV Park. And at this point, the commission needs to select an action. I'll entertain a motion.
I have a question for Matthew first.
Oh, certainly, please.
Okay, help me understand something to make sure I've got this right in my head. A mistake does not change the ordinance, correct? The regulation.
The state?
A mistake.
Oh, that's correct.
Mistake.
Okay. I just remember years ago on a setback situation in a residential type housing subdivision, there was a mistake made on the approval of a plat. And they came back in and they were asking for a variance because there was a mistake made in the recommendation. And I remember the lawyer blatantly telling us a mistake does not make it okay. And so I kind of was thinking that when you said that. So what I'm hearing is that there was kind of like a mistake made in the initial. And then when it came back around finally after all this, but this variance is not exhibiting what a true hardship is for, because it's a variance for a mistake, not a variance for a hardship. Is that right?
That's correct. They could still build a residence or use this property for a number of other items without a variance, and so therefore a variance is not warranted based on like the narrowness of the land, and then economic difficulty isn't by itself a grant of or warrant a variance.
Right. Okay. Making sure I understood that.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, the chair would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go along with our planning director's decision.
All right, so that would be to affirm the denial, if I read that correctly. So that's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to affirm the denial on case S-20069.
And I'd like to follow that up with a comment.
Certainly.
Because I think all of us probably need to make a comment on this, because
Exactly.
we as a body can't vote to do something that goes directly against our regulations. It's nothing against the project, but what y'all are asking us to do is violate our subdivision regulations. I know they made a mistake, but we can't go back and reinvent the wheel, violate our subdivision regulations, and then everybody else is going to come up and start doing the same thing eventually. So the mistake was made on his part. It doesn't, the mistake does not generate reinventing our subdivision regulations. So,
If I can address that.
yes, sir.
Certainly.
300 days after something is done or after approval, this was a approved project. This is not, we're asking for approval today. This is an administrative review. We've spent our money. We did our due diligence. We spent our money because your county, planning and zoning, told us it was okay. They approved it. So, for somebody to come up here today, I understand that. But at this point in time, it was an approved project. The only reason this project isn't built, and you guys couldn't, and you asked Matthew, you couldn't have done anything about it at that point, is because we had to go to the ETJ. Otherwise, this was done.
It still has to come through us, though, to vote on, so.
Not on a normal subdivision. Is every subdivision voted on by these guys?
No, not this particular situation, but it's still I'm not sure why the town of Summerdale granted this variance. I don't know, but a variance is not to confirm a mistake. If a mistake was made and there was, it's unfortunate, but a variance should only be issued if there's a hardship. A mistake does not constitute a hardship unless this land could not be used for any other purpose whatsoever without this particular setback that you had proposed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it would be interesting to know why the town of Summerdale approved a variance.
The variance is because, number one, when we first bought this property, a subdivision is a subdividing of property. That's what it means to me. A subdivision is a subdivision of homes, or even if it's RVs. This is a single entity project. So number one, we didn't expect to even have any rules or regulations as far as being a subdivision, because maybe lawyers call it a subdivision, but it's not really a subdivision. It's a single entity situation where basically, just like anywhere else, it's unzoned property and you can build a campground or something like that. So, I guess Baldwin County's decided to where they can manage RV parks, they count them as subdivisions. So because of being a subdivision inside of Summerdale, the ETJ, they have 75-foot lot widths. They have 10,000 square foot. It's set up for subdivisions, homes and such. It's not set up for, and they could speak to that if they were here, it's set up for what a typical residential neighborhood would be. So we had to ask for variances because otherwise you can't meet that requirement. It's very difficult to meet that requirement with doing RVs. So that's why they gave variances that they gave, because they understood that it's different than what a normal typical residential subdivision would be.
I think there's been the Attorney General's opinion that was sought after from some other entities that are predicting, and we are being asked by many communities in Ballin County for regulations on things that maybe not seem like it should be regulated in other areas that aren't fast growing. And so in an attempt to be responsible in Baldwin County with the fast growth that we're having, these are the things that are helping us, implement some responsible growth.
And I understand that, but again, this was an approved project by Baldwin County Planning.
But because it is in the county and it's not in Summerdale, we do have to sign off on it.
That's what I'm saying, though. This was approved by Baldwin County Commission.
But when you changed it?
There was more sites at that point in time inside the 30-foot setback than there are today. And it was approved by Baldwin County Commission. It was recommended by Baldwin County and zoning, planning and zoning, and not the commission, but the planning commission.
Well, the commission didn't actually, I don't think the commission approved it. It might have been approved by the planning commission.
It was approved by the planning commission. I'm sorry, yes. It was approved by the plan. This was an approved project. So, I mean, you're coming back now and thinking, well, it was an approved project and telling me, no, I can't do it.
Well, they're telling us there was a mistake. They said there was a mistake made.
Wayne, do you have a comment?
Yes, sir, I do. A couple things. First thing is regarding what's a subdivision, what's not a subdivision. That's been litigated by the Alabama Supreme Court in 05-06, a case out of Bonsecours for Baldwin County. We were justified in regulating things like this. in Alabama, the definition of a subdivision is very broad. It's for sale, lease, or otherwise. And so it's very, very broad. It's been upheld numerous times. I think we're very, very strong in our position on regulating RV parks through this process. Second thing, I wanted to clarify with Matthew. Matthew said that originally they were told to change the setback. The engineer did not, and then that slipped through, correct?
So they were told to, this language is clearly in our regulations.
Right.
It's ultimately the applicant and the engineer, and he had an engineer who's responsible for carrying out what the regulations say. And they displayed it on their plat. So it's not that it wasn't displayed on their plat and we didn't catch it, it wasn't displayed. They put the setback on there. They just didn't pull the sites within the setback. So they were clear, it's clear that at some point they were made aware that there was a 30-foot setback because they put it on their plat. What we failed to do as a team was fail to catch that, oh, hey, you put it on there, but you failed to pull everything back out of that setback now.
If I could reference the 30-foot setback.
Yes, sir.
In the subdivision regulations, 30-foot setback is permanent structure. It's not a rock pad, asphalt pad, your driveway, whatever is not included in that. They're clearly marked in the sketch I took to Baldwin County Planning and Zoning, August 7th of 2020, had RVs shown inside that same area. This 30-foot setback was just, nobody ever said, hey, you can't put a site inside this. And these guys are the experts. They wrote the 126-page document. So, and my problem is that I went to them and asked them, hey, is this okay? Can I build this? Can I do this? And to be told yes, to spend the money, it does become an economic thing. Yeah, me and my wife spent money on this because they said we could do it. It got approved. It got approved in February with Summerdale. So, and if you look up, if you could pull up the original drawing, it shows in the package that I sent to you guys originally, it shows RVs shown inside that 30-foot setback. And you, there's no denial that they knew it day one. There's RVs sitting in there. So that was, for me personally, it was considered a permanent structure, not a piece of concrete or a piece of gravel with a temporary object sitting on that can come and go. I understand y'all's issues with these campgrounds that become, permanent structures or permanent campers and meth labs and everything else. I get it. But, this was not to be one of those. It was to be a themed campground to where, it's transient visitors. So, Matthew can say, we didn't know what the 30-foot line is shown, but there are RVs shown inside that 30-foot on the document that they approved.
How many, let me ask, how many sites would you lose if you have to do what they're suggesting?
It'd be a third of them, approximately 15 of them. We'd have roughly 30 at the end if we changed it today to meet that requirement.
So there's no other way to design entrance or any of the other things?
It's due to the fact that the property coming off of Highway 59 is only 100 foot wide. So there's no way to do the 30-foot setback and then put a side in there and then put a road in there. So.
Do you have proposals from your engineer or in your mind multiple ways to do this and then y'all chose this particular way? Were there project A, B, C, D? What was the
original thinking we go out on the gas plan? That was my design to, I guess, get the maximum spaces that we could get, and that was in a gravel situation. And like I said, the only reason it changed is after meetings with Summerdale, they were one of the requirements that is in their subdivision regulations that we didn't feel they were going to give us the variance on was paving. So we opted for the paving. And at that point, the piece that goes down to Couch Plant Road is approximately 700 feet long. So at that point, that was 700 foot of asphalt that we were going to have to put in. And at that point, we did the cul-de-sac design and go back out to 59. So, and then the sites fell out as they did on that, and it wound up being 46 sites.
So let me see if I've got this is correct in my mind. Your engineer knew of the 30-foot setback, but the setback was thought to be for permanent structures.
I can't speak for him.
Well, let's get him to send us something so we can hear from him.
Okay.
I think that would be helpful of what he knew, what he may or may not have shared with you, and then so we can better understand how we got to this point. There was a mistake made. I mean, people make mistakes. But at the same time, maximizing the number of spaces, that's just good business. But realizing that the maximum number of spaces may not be the way to get it done, then I think we've got to look for a plan B or a plan C. But I'd like to know what the engineer knows or said or conveyed to you properly. Not trying to put you in the dark, but I mean, it's about trying to get the facts.
Okay.
I withdraw my motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right?
I think first we would need the second to be withdrawn. Was there a second?
Billy Joe second.
Yes, there was a motion and a second.
Well, if there's not a motion, but withdraw.
All right, so we're going to withdraw the motion and the second.
We would just reset this to the next meeting to get the project manager here?
So we could. Now, I happen to ask the engineer what he thought, and I'm happy to say that, but if you'd rather hear it from him, I can.
I think it would be helpful for the record.
Okay.
To make.
I would like to hear Matthew.
His version?
Conversation with my.
Sure.
I'd love to hear this in the public meeting.
Well, we can do that, but I still think it's significant to get the other. Yes, sir. All right, Matthew, what's your take on it?
And again, there's a lot of he said, she said that goes on here, but he said that he was told that that only applied if RV lots were going to be sold, that 30-foot setback only applied. I would just reread this requirement for the commissioners. RV parks and campground sites / units shall be located a minimum of 30 feet from any exterior property line or wetland. We're actually going to amend our subregs to try and make it more clear, but we feel like it's abundantly clear just in how it's read. I do apologize, though, that our failing to catch that has brought this before you today. So, but it is, I don't want there to be any confusion that it says permanent structures. It doesn't. It says RV sites shall be located a minimum of 30 feet from any exterior property line or wetland.
Well, I think that's significant, and I think it's very significant that we get something from the engineer that clarifies what he or she's thought process was, what he or she conveyed to you, and thus to us. And here again, we're not looking for bad guys. This is about trying to figure out how we can go forward. All right? Everybody okay with that at this point? And then we'll have it come back.
Mr. Chairman, if we can get a motion to table it to the next meeting, that'd make it very clear for the record.
Okay, good.
I make that motion.
We've got a motion to table it to the next meeting. Do I hear a
We've got a
second?
motion on the floor right now. Do we need to?
He withdrew.
It was
No,
withdrawn.
he withdrew it, and the second was withdrawn.
okay.
Yeah. So now we have a motion to table.
To table.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to table. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, now going forward, we will add this.
Yes, sir. At the next meeting, we'll have it on the agenda. Yes, sir.
Very good. All right, thank you very much.
Can I also ask a question?
Sure.
Of Matthew? Could you also please bring to us what was the reasoning that the town, other than just saying that they approved it? I would like to know in detail why they approved this variance.
Yeah, get Summerdale to give us something, and preferably in writing, so it can be as part of the record going forward. Because these are the kind of things that'll get referred to 10 years from now, trying to figure out what to do next.
Also like to make it understood that whenever a variance is granted, why a variance is granted, and I think you stated that many, many different times, and so thank you.
That's right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, next are our committee reports. The first one is the payment of the bills under finance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we pay bills totaling $17,762,503.74, with the exception of those vendors or commissioners requested to be pulled. There are none at this time. Of this amount, $13,067,959.49 is payable to the Baldwin County Board of Education, and $806,365.19 is payable to the Gulf Shores Board of Education for their portion of county sales and use tax.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second that.
Got a motion and a second to pay the bills as delineated. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, next is the notification of interim payments approved by the clerk treasurer under policy 8.1. Staff recommendation is to make the attached interim payments made by the clerk treasurer totaling $4,894,954.25 and make that part of the minutes. And Mr. Chairman, that brings us down to discussion items. We did have one that was incomplete. That was Matthew talking about the subdivision regulation amendments, and you asked that he come back and complete that at this meeting. So, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, we'll ask Matthew to come up and finish up his presentation on what he was doing in the work session.
Do we compensate people based on how much time they spend before the mic? If so, Matthew is winning big time.
Hey, Wayne, real quick.
Yes.
Where are we at with the FAs?
On those, what we're going to bring it back at the next meeting. We discussed the FA1, bringing that back at the next meeting with that in place, and also FA3, have that letter written and drafted ready for the chairman to sign. But we can, if you want to, we can do something different if you choose.
And then we're good with what Ron said in the work session about the budget and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we'll approve the budget at our next meeting?
That's right. Yes, sir. Those were all discussion items, did not require any particular action at this meeting unless the commission chose to.
Okay.
All right. All right, Matthew, bring us back up to speed on that other topic.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. This is where we left off during work session. We were talking about option 2 of the broadband requirements, and we're proposing some waivers that would essentially allow a development to move forward if it turned out that this was an insurmountable hurdle for the development. And what we think this will do, it will at least cultivate or require discussion to occur between a broadband provider and a developer early on in the project to see if they can work out a solution to make sure that broadband is provided to these houses. Otherwise, you have 100 houses put up. That puts us further from accomplishing our strategic goal because they don't have that access to high-speed internet. The next controversial item is sidewalks. And I do think, appreciate having Joey's back up in here on this one. This is something we've been working closely with Highway Department on. They inspect these in the field and encounter a lot of the issues, but we're essentially, the current subdivision regulations require sidewalks on common areas to be constructed before final plat approval, which means as the development gets built in the roads prior to houses, that's kind of that final plat stage. Only sidewalks on the common areas are required. This would require all sidewalks to be constructed to get final plat approval. The cons that we hear from developers are that those sidewalks will get broken during construction and add cost to new homes and new development to repair those sidewalks. Obviously, there are some big public policy pros. We've all walked through these subdivisions that have incomplete sidewalks, or the bigger issue, and has been a large expense to the county over the past 5 years, is the fact that these sidewalks get built by individual builders who are not quite as good as building ADA compliant sidewalks, and then the county and the citizens are the ones on the hook for that. In discussing, based on the feedback we received the other day, many of the municipalities already require this, and working with Highway, we believe it's appropriate to move forward with this despite some of the concerns raised, and we think that ultimately the developers will become good at holding the builders accountable for taking care of those sidewalks and repairing them if they do damage those. Any questions on the sidewalk?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's like I said, we spent, I don't know how many millions of dollars already going back and repairing sidewalks that were destroyed by contractors, and ones that were put in by the contractors, they don't meet the ADA requirements, and we're having to go back and change it because we fall under the act that makes us responsible for all these sidewalks and stuff in these subdivisions. So, I mean, if we put them in and they're done right, that way they're done right the first time, if there's so many damages, they'll have to repair it themselves. I mean, we shouldn't have to forego that cost, as long as they follow the regulations.
And if there are no any other comments on that one, I'll jump to the last item. This is open space requirements. And we got some great feedback on this, and I'm going to just tell the commission right off the bat that our recommendation as staff is we're going to actually probably pull this from the upcoming amendments and take another shot at it in about 6 months. And we really want to get this right. One of our planning commissioner members owns the Chick-fil-A's on the Eastern Shore and also one in Mobile. And he said that, he brought this up at the planning commission meeting on the record. He brought up the fact that he cannot hire full-time employees at Chick-fil-A unless he brings them over from Mobile. And a large part of that is the fact that affordable housing is getting harder and harder to find in Baldwin County. We certainly don't want our requirements to make affordable housing impossible. We believe that we can achieve a balance that is a win-win for everybody. We got some great feedback. We don't want to rush into this. And so we already have an open space requirement for planned developments. This would be introducing it for standard subdivisions. We would like to take another swing at this language to try and find something that accomplishes everybody's goals.
Okay.
Thank you. I know that that's a difficult balance. At the same time, though, we are trying to combat a lot of the problems that we're faced with on a daily challenge because of some of the inadequacies that we have had in our regulations as far as trying to be responsible. So I think that there's a lot of information has come forth concerning ways to meet some of this affordable housing situation without jeopardizing our area from having some, I don't know, control is not the right word, I know, but we just got to be more responsible because we are still primarily a rural area, but we're growing so fast that you got on the one hand, somebody will say, why don't you do something about this? And I'm like, well, when did you move here? They're like, last year. And I'm like, okay, we're trying, we're trying to do something. And then this topic comes up. So I think that, South Baldwin is got some great ideas about how to combat the workforce housing issue. And so if that needs to bleed over onto the Eastern Shore as well, then it is. But what we still cannot jeopardize these regulations just because there's another need that needs to be met that's not part of a regular subdivision.
Okay, any other questions or comments at this point?
And just as a reminder, we expect this to come to a formal public hearing on the 21st of September.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, next we have commissioner requests.
Yes. Request?
I don't have any requests. Well, I do have one little request. Yesterday, one of our members had a birthday. Billy Jo had celebrated her birthday yesterday.
All right.
Now, I think it'd just be nice to
acknowledge that.
Acknowledge her birthday.
Are you going to sing?
Happy birthday to you.
Very good.
Thank you so much. 54, you don't have to guess.
Okay. All right, good deal.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff?
I don't have any requests.
I do have a request.
Okay.
This is actually a request.
All right.
As you know, we have been looking for a place to relocate the library cooperative. And we were looking at trying to either purchase a piece of property in more of a centralized, unserved area. And that's been harder to do than we thought. We located some piece of property in Stapleton that seemed ideal. There's 2 lots together to make it where we would need it, and we didn't need that much of an area. But the one gentleman just does not want to sell, not interested in selling at all. And so someone called me on the phone last Thursday morning real early and said, I know y'all been looking for a place, and there is a place for rent in the Loxley area. And I said, well, aren't they already a served area? And they said, but they're underserved. It's kind of that, like broadband, like me with CenturyLink. Sorry, CenturyLink, but you fit the bill, you get to wear it. I mean, how many of y'all get to watch we got to 24% and we sit there for 5 minutes and you finally turn the TV off. But anyhow, Loxley has embraced this, talked to Mayor Teal, and I would like to ask the permission of the commission for our staff to move forward with looking at this piece of property. I've talked to, where'd he go? He's done run out of here, isn't he? Ron.
He had a funeral to go to.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But Ron's our budget director, and so I'd asked him, how would this work out? And he said, hey, that sounds great. The space is big enough, but I would like to get permission from the commission while we're here in an open meeting, since this just came up, to give staff the ability to move forward with working with the library to see if this would work, and then come back to us with a proposal, because this piece of property may not be available for rent if we keep hanging around. So this was something that the property person that asked me about it said, look, if y'all don't want it, we need to put it up. They had a tenant that was coming, that didn't work out, but it's a commercial piece of property that's in a really cute walkable area in Loxley, and so I would like.
Sure. Do we need to make a formal motion, or do we just need maybe Billy Joe and Wayne to get together and come back with us?
There's no need for a formal motion, but I guess if anybody has any input, then.
Does anybody have any?
You can make one if you want to, but there's no requirement.
Right, okay.
Well, I personally have confidence in your participation and others, and if it becomes something that is an option for us to improve our delivery of services to our citizens, I'm fine with that.
And it would also open up that space at Central Annex because of our P&Z department.
That's right.
And also the building inspector needs to get him a little office up there, and the urban design studio, and that space would be readily accessible to our constituents who, for whatever reason, have to go to one town, then to another city or whatever to get all of their stuff. It could be in one area.
Very good. All right. Anybody else? Do I get to do my request now? All right, bear with me just a second. This is a letter dated September the 1st. I want to get it on the record. This is written from the Eastern Shore MPO and the Mobile MPO. This letter is to Director John Cooper of ALDOT. It regards the I-10 bridge project. And it says, Dear Director Cooper, when the Mobile and Eastern Shore Planning Organization voted in June to add Phase 1 of the I-10 Bridge and Bayway project to their TIP program, which is the Transportation Improvement Program, members of both organizations recognize that the need for more communication and transparency with ALDOT is essential. We were very appreciative of the project updates on July the 26th. In this spirit of open communication, we're writing jointly in our capacity as the respective chairman of Mobile and Eastern Shore to convey further guidance and direction for ALDOT as it begins putting together the teams to conduct required traffic and financial studies. As you know, MPO members from both Mobile and Eastern Shore expressed concern about the three-phase approach. The first concern is the restriping of the bay that would compromise safety in those lanes. It would be narrow and the shoulders would be eliminated. Also of major concern is that it would likely take 12 to 15 years to complete this project. MPO members are hopeful a feasible way can be found to build the phases concurrently, which would eliminate these concerns. Accordingly, both MPO requests ALDOT broaden its study to enable it to report back to the MPOs on a financial structure that would require all three phases to be built simultaneously. Phase 1, it talks about that Eastern Shore span. Phase 2, the westward span. Phase 3, a new Bayway, East Tunnel interchange, Mid-Bay interchange, Daphne interchange. The study information will enable the MPOs to better understand if there are additional options. We are requesting this opportunity to be presented with all reasonable funding options to complete this project in a safe and more timely manner. Also, again, we thank you, ALDOT, for going to this extra effort. This is signed by William S. Stimson, Chairman of Mobile MPO, Mayor of Mobile, and Jack Burrell, Chairman of the Eastern Shore MPO, Fairhope City Council President. I think it's very significant for us to recognize that we're 15 years or more behind on improving that connectivity, and that this becomes the start of us moving it, and this needs to be fast forwarded. But I want this letter to be part of our record make sure everybody gets a copy of it. Billy Joe and I are blessed to serve on the Eastern Shore MPO, so we've been linked into the information. But I think it's critical that we do whatever we have to do in Montgomery and in Washington, D.C. to make sure that this connectivity between Mobile and Baldwin County that impacts the entire economy of this region, that it's moved and fast-tracked. So I want to make sure that that becomes part of the record, if I could, please. All right? Do we have any addenda that we want to address?
No, sir, we do not. Next is administrative report, Mr. Chairman, but also under BA3, we had the local state of emergency, but Michelle Pennington and Scott Wallace gave a very great presentation on COVID. Would you like to hear that again, just so that people on Facebook Live can see it as well? Would that be permissible for the commission?
Sure. Can we do that?
Sure.
All right, let's do that, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commission, Mr. Dice. And I'm here to introduce Michelle Pendleton. She's an intern, and as part of our intern program with emergency management, we do a project and they present it to the commission after they finish the project. This is a project on COVID that Michelle's been working on since March of 2020. And rather than finishing it, we just kind of hit a cutoff date and want to present it to you. So here's Michelle.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. When I talked to Zach about doing an internship and then choosing to pursue it, I was transitioning into emergency management from another career field. There was no pandemic then. And then about a week before I started the internship, the world started to change, and drastically. Like the wave that takes over a stadium at a ball game, around the world, businesses and schools started shutting down, and events were being canceled. Then the Saturday before my internship started, Baldwin County claimed its first positive COVID patient. And that evening, the Baldwin County Commission declared a local state of emergency for COVID-19. If we look at the graph of COVID cases added daily, which is up on the screen, we see for the state it's in red, and Baldwin County is in blue underneath. We'll see we've had 2 surges and are in the middle of a 3rd surge. Now, tracking the data is an ongoing project, as Scott mentioned to you just a bit ago. But for the purposes of putting this report together, I cut it off at August 19th. So what was our situation snapshot then, and what is it now? So on March 14th, 2020, Baldwin County had 1 confirmed COVID case, total. On August 19th, 2021, Baldwin had 131 new COVID cases in that day alone, bringing the total number of COVID cases to 30,106. During our first 2 peaks, our daily number of new cases averaged in the 90s, while the testing site at PZK Hall averaged between 50 and 60 tests a day. In our current surge, we're averaging 158 new cases a day and 152 tests a day at the PZK site. During our first 2 peaks, our health and medical system was somewhat strained. Now, our health and medical system is severely strained. So what are some events and challenges, strictly COVID related, that have happened over the last year and a half? Well, here are just a few of the highlights. In the beginning, with states of emergency being declared, county facilities were closed, the governor closed the beaches and so-called non-essential businesses. Certain public gatherings were suspended, and Governor Ivey issued a stay-at-home order. But the Baldwin County Commission recognized a need for balance between protecting Baldwin citizens during the pandemic and economic impacts as a result of protective measures. On April 28, 2020, the Commission voted unanimously to begin a phased reopening of county facilities to take place May 4, 2020. Further, with the Commission's support, Baldwin Together, a county-wide long-term recovery effort for those impacted by COVID-19, was formed. The program started September 1st, 2020, and continues to assist Baldwin residents. To date, the program has served 234 cases and has allocated over $154,000. Again, with the Commission's support and the support of our county and state partners, mass vaccinations started on January 19th, 2021. Over time, Baldwin's new COVID cases per day decreased and stayed that way so that the states of emergency could expire, the state's mask mandate could expire, and the state's safer apart order could expire. But now we're in our third surge. Baldwin County has become a hotspot. Our healthcare system has become strained again. A COVID-19 testing site was activated at PZK Hall once again, but this time to decompress the situation at the hospitals. And Baldwin EMA is once again conducting briefings with its health and medical partners. As of September 3rd, we have conducted 152 of those briefings. Baldwin EMA is providing support to our partners during this third surge by maintaining situational awareness, filling resource gaps, and coordinating with stakeholders to prepare for potential impacts. We will remain diligent in assessing and forecasting the needs of the county. Thank you.
All right, very good. Any questions or comments from up here?
I'd just like to say again, this was a great document that you put together, and it's almost like a diary, you know, and it's in that much of a detail, so I appreciate that, you know, and I think it's going to be something handy that we can all look back and lessons learned.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Very good. And for those that are watching this either live or will see it later on, we heard your presentation during the work session, and I think all of us, our eyes got bigger. If our eyes didn't get bigger the second time, it's because we had heard it, but we're impressed not only with you, but the information that you put together, and we thank you very much.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, we do have one other item under administrative report. That is regarding the 5 Counties Initiative that has been discussed with the County Commission. I'm going to ask Shirley if she would speak to this issue, Mr. Chairman.
I'll just talk from here if that's okay.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay. So we've talked over the last year about gathering like counties together to talk about growth-related issues. And I think after the ACCA conference, it became even more apparent, and after the census results, that there are a few counties that are in very similar growth situations to Baldwin County. And the counties that we identified were Madison County, Tuscaloosa County, Shelby County, Lee County, and obviously Baldwin County, making 5. And some of you have discussed the fact that having this group to meet with and talk about these growth issues and strategies for addressing them would be beneficial. And so I wanted to bring that up to all of you together today, since I don't get to talk to you as a body, and see if that's something that you would like me to pursue in reaching out to these commissions and gathering you together. I know that you did discuss this with Sunny, I think, a year ago at ACCA, but I just wanted to put it out in public and make sure that we were all on the same page about that being beneficial.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yes. Well, I think it goes without saying that the counties you just named are the fastest growing counties in the state of Alabama. And that doesn't make us any better than anybody, but it does create some unique needs and requirements I'm a firm believer that you get together, we'll learn some things from them, they might learn some things from us, and that we get a chance to collectively sit down with leadership in Montgomery and Washington to talk about the sort of things that this region and this state will benefit from. So I'm excited about us moving on this and look forward to helping move it along as we can. I've had conversations with MPO leadership. I've had conversations with congressional leadership, and they all agree, and our legislative body, they agree that it makes sense for us to collaborate with those that have some similar things, because we're growing so fast. And growth is a wonderful thing as long as you manage it well and project it into the future. So Shirley, thank you very much for moving this needle along. And I'd like comments from any of my colleagues if they have any at this point.
I don't have any comments.
Okay.
Good.
All right, sounds good. Let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next is the county attorney's report.
Thank you, Wayne. Mr. Chairman, we have a couple of matters to discuss in executive session today, hopefully no more than 5 minutes each or so. So kick it back to me when you're ready.
I sure will. Okay, county attorney's report. Now we have public comments. Anyone from the public that would like to share what's on their heart or their mind? Seeing no hands raised, what about press questions? Do we have any members of the press here that want to ask us questions? I see none. Commissioner comments. Jeff, you got any comments?
I just, I don't have many, just say thanks to everybody that was involved in this meeting today. When we got these work sessions and meetings in the same day, it makes a long day, and I just appreciate what everybody did to get us to where we are. So that's
Very
all.
good. Billy Joe?
Couple things. Let's keep praying for some of our friends and family that are battling COVID. Some are very serious. While I'm sitting here, I got a message from someone who's my nephew's neighbor passed away. So just keep praying. We got some people. I think everybody in this room probably knows somebody, and there's some staff members that are battling this. It is a serious situation. But on a lighter note, I was attending a kickoff dinner luncheon the other day, and unbeknownst to me, one of our directors in his department was receiving an award. Zach, come on down real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And show off that plaque you got for,
There you go.
is it community service recognition? All right.
Good.
So I told Zach, I'm like, look, I don't think we knew about it. Did you know about it?
I had no idea, Commissioner. I sure did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just by chance that I was there. And so I said, you need to bring that up here and show it to the commission, because
Sure.
last year, ever since we've already discussed, when the pandemic started for us here, how much an interesting year we've had with the pandemic, with the hurricanes, and then it just keeps going on, and EMA has really stepped up, and they're not only do we know it, we're glad to know other people are seeing it too. So,
Very good.
there you go.
Listen, I'm very humbled, the EMA. We accept this award, but this is really an award to the commission and all the departments within the commission. Everywhere from building the highway to solid waste, it's a community award. And so as a county, we're a community of our own that just serves the public. And so although we were there and able to receive this, Commissioner Underwood and Chairman, we were very humbled to accept that on behalf for the commission and for each of the department heads and directors, and all might not be here, but all directors and leadership within the county, this award's for all of us. It's been a very difficult year, but I just want to congratulate all for your service, your efforts. It does make a difference. That is recognized by large organizations all the way down to an individual living in their home. So thank you very much.
On a personal note, just to let you know that some of us didn't attend the lunch. We didn't know anything about this. I don't know if there was just a miscommunication and letting us know that somebody from our department was going to be getting such a prestigious award, but we just didn't dodge the lunch. had we known this was going to be going on. I think all four of us would have been there.
I was surprised too. In fact, we didn't know that we were even going to make the lunch.
Right.
We were able to end the meeting and call Commissioner, so I understand.
Right.
I understand that for sure.
Good. Well, and Wayne, I'd like for you to reach out to the leadership in United Way. I don't know, we can't, as a county, be a member, I wouldn't think. Most of us are members. And if there were other elected officials invited to that and we weren't, then I'm going to feel a little bit offended, but maybe it was just left out.
We'll find out.
And not just because Zach was there, but the word united is about all of us working together, doing everything we can. And I think I would have tried to make it, even if Zach wasn't going to be recognized. But if we knew in advance that he was, that would be a nice touch. If mayors and city councils and members of the legislature are invited to that, then I'd like for the county commission to be invited too, or find out why we're not.
Yes, sir. We'd be glad to investigate that.
For the record, my banker invited me.
Oh, I know. You were there in another capacity.
I wasn't invited.
I understand that. But if elected officials aren't normally included, then it would be nice for us to be, even if we're not recognizing one of our own. So let's kind of look into that if we could. All right. We've got commissioner comments. Yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to thank, the staff for getting us where we're at today and getting all this ready. Having a workshop and a meeting in the same day is a little bit tough. But also I want to, again, thank those law enforcement people, for our deputies, for what they do every day.
That's right.
People don't realize what they go through. I mean, they come upon stuff that's, nobody would think of, and they're there to protect the citizens and, the life-saving awards. Golly, how many, if it hadn't been there, that person would have been deceased. So I think, they to be commended for what they really do. And again, the COVID virus, it's real.
No question.
I've lost several friends from it, and we've got several of our employees that are battling it right now, and I just think we all need to keep those people in our prayers as we go through our day, to hope that they succumb the virus, and but it's bad. Just have to be very, very careful where you go and what you do. So thank you all very much.
Okay. Bill Joe, any additional comments?
Just thank everybody, the staff and everybody, and all the work that they do. I don't ever want them to know that we don't appreciate them.
We made a comment.
All right, you've already done your comments.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make mine. Saturday is going to be the 20th anniversary of something that will forever change the way this country is built, prospers, and moves forward. Not about bragging on the press unless they do something really good. I'm kind of a history nut. But this particular article that was in the Mobile paper, across the bottom, does things chronologically, very similar to her report, taking things. This takes what led up to and what happened at 9/11. Folks, we cannot forget what happened. We need to make good decisions.
Yes.
We need to move forward. I want you to, sometime during the day, close your eyes, think about where you were and what you were doing. I was in the banking and brokerage business. I never met the guy, but a guy on the 8th floor, he and I talked on the phone several times. His name was Rodney. He was lost. But let me tell you what almost happened. Had the bad guys, and I'm not going to call them by name, but the bad guys, had they done this prior to Y2K, the financial system of the United States would have been destroyed because it was housed in Building 1 for the backup system in Building 2. But with Y2K and all the fears about computers and will they work and what will happen when we change centuries, we took data and put it in Pennsylvania somewhere and another site. So we were, I guess, lucky that they didn't pull the trigger sooner. But do not forget what this was about. And do not forget who did it. And do not forget that they want to destroy us. Now that's, as my papa used to say, that's little Joe's thought. And we all need to reflect on that, and we all need to be steady vigil for what will be happening into the future. I guess we need to go to Brad to get us into executive session. Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would recommend that the commission adopt a motion to adjourn this meeting and convene an executive session to discuss with your attorney the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation, controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated, or imminently likely to be litigated if the governmental body pursues a proposed course of action. And I'll go ahead and make the comment that I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in Alabama, and that this exception is applicable to the planned discussion. So now all you need is a motion, a second, and a vote.
I'll entertain a motion to take our legal's opinion of moving forward into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Brad?
Yep, just call for the vote. I've already made my comments, so
All right.
just call for the vote.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Okay, and then announce that we will not reconvene.
And we will not reconvene. We will go into executive session, and this will be the end of this meeting. Thank you.